I still have never studied acting. I started acting when I was 10.
For decades, Carol Lynley smiled and kept quiet. Now, her final interview reveals the terrifying truth about her Hollywood years.
And that's biologically normal. Whenever boys try anything, I always get scared or disgusted.
Dangerous movie stunts that almost killed her, cruel sabotage from jealous co-stars, and the dark secret that made her walk away from fame. What happened on the Poseidon Adventure set was just the beginning. The real story will make you see her differently forever. Carol Lynley was born Carol Ann Jones on February 13, 1942, in Manhattan, New York City. Her early life wasn't easy. After her parents divorced, she was raised by her mother, Frances, who worked hard to support them. For a while, Frances waited tables, making just enough to get by. But things started to change when Carol's natural beauty caught the attention of the modeling world. By the time she was 10, she was already working as a child model. Sears and Roebuck was one of her first big clients. Her fresh-faced charm made her an instant favorite, and soon she was appearing in national ads for Clairol and Pepsodent. One campaign in particular made a lasting impression. People started calling her the Coca-Cola Girl, a nickname that stuck with her throughout her early career. Modeling wasn't just a job. It gave her family financial stability and opened doors she never expected. While most kids spent their afternoons playing outside, Carol was learning the art of performance. She took ballet lessons, practiced posing for the camera, and developed a deep appreciation for the entertainment world. She had a natural presence, and her mother saw it too. Frances did everything she could to nurture her daughter's talents, always looking for opportunities to help her grow. At 15, Carol's career took a major turn. In April 1957, Life magazine put her on its cover with the headline, "Carol Lynley, 15, Busy Career Girl." It was more than just a magazine feature. Life was one of the biggest publications in the country. That cover gave her national recognition and signaled to Hollywood that she was ready for something bigger. Acting was the next step, but there was one problem. When she tried to register her name with the Actors Equity Association, she found out someone else had already claimed Carolyn Lee. She needed a new stage name. Instead of letting it hold her back, she took the last part of Carolyn and combined it with Lee to create something unique, Carol Lynley. The change was small, but it gave her a fresh start as she stepped into a new world. Carol Lynley's journey started on Broadway in 1957 with The Potting Shed. She was just a teenager when she took on the role of Anne Califer, a 13-year-old caught in the middle of a family mystery. The play wasn't just any drama. It was deep and psychological, exploring secrets, identity, and the weight of the past. For someone so young, it was a challenge, but Lynley made an impression. Her performance earned her a Theatre World Award for Most Promising Personality, a sign that she was on the path to something bigger. The play followed James Califer, a man trying to uncover a long-hidden family secret. The production had a strong cast, including Robert Fleming and the legendary Sybil Thorndike. Audiences were drawn in by its emotional intensity. Time magazine praised it for capturing the struggles and emotions of real life. For Lynley, this role was more than just another step. It showed she could handle serious material, something that set her apart from many young actresses of the time. A year later, she made the jump to Hollywood. Her film debut came in 1958 with Disney's The Light in the Forest, a historical drama about identity and belonging. She played Shenandoah, an indentured girl who forms a connection with Johnny Butler, a boy raised by Native Americans who struggles to adjust to white society. The film was shot in Tennessee and California, giving it a natural and authentic feel. Lynley's performance captured both innocence and quiet strength, qualities that would define many of her early roles. With Disney, she became known as a fresh new talent, but she wasn't interested in staying in safe territory. In 1959, she took on Blue Denim, a film that tackled teenage pregnancy at a time when few dared to talk about it. Lynley played Janet Willard, a young girl facing an unplanned pregnancy with her boyfriend, played by Brandon DeWild. The film never directly mentioned abortion, but its message was clear. It was a bold story for its time, and Lynley made it feel real. Her performance earned her a Golden Globe nomination for Best Supporting Actress, proving she had more to offer than just a sweet smile. The film itself pushed boundaries. It showed the fear and pressure that young couples faced, something that wasn't often discussed in movies. Lynley's portrayal of Janet was heartbreaking, yet strong. She wasn't just playing a role, she was making people think. That was the kind of actress she was becoming. Someone who could take on difficult stories and bring them to life in a way that felt honest. But she didn't stop there. That same year, she took on a lighter role in Holiday for Lovers, playing Betsy Dean, a young woman on a family trip. It was fun and charming, a contrast to her previous film. Then, in 1961, she stepped into another major role in Return to Peyton Place. The original Peyton Place had been a sensation, filled with scandal and drama. Lynley played Allison Mackenzie, a young writer trying to navigate small-town life while uncovering the truths hidden beneath its polished surface. The role let her show both innocence and quiet rebellion, something that audiences connected with. By the early 1960s, Carol Lynley had made her mark. She had always been known for playing sweet and innocent characters. That changed in 1965 when she took on one of the most challenging roles of her career. In Bunny Lake is Missing, she played Ann Lake, a woman convinced her daughter had been kidnapped. The police couldn't help her because no one could confirm the child ever existed. The role was intense. It pushed Lynley into new territory, far from the wholesome image she had built in earlier films. Director Otto Preminger believed in her. He had worked with her before and chose her for the role over Jane Fonda, who had wanted it badly. The film also starred Laurence Olivier as the skeptical police superintendent. On set, Olivier warned Preminger not to be too harsh with Lynley. He recognized her sensitivity and respected the emotional depth she brought to the role. The film played with reality in a way that was unusual for its time. It explored paranoia and mental fragility, keeping audiences guessing about what was real. Critics praised Lynley's performance. She captured Anne's desperation so convincingly that it was impossible not to be drawn into the story. But even though the film was well received, it didn't change her career the way she had hoped. The roles that followed didn't match the depth of Bunny Lake is Missing. That same year, Lynley took on another major role. She starred as Jean Harlow in a biopic about the Hollywood legend. The film could have been a breakthrough for her, but there was a problem. Another Harlow movie came out at the same time, starring Carol Baker. It had a bigger budget and a more experienced lead actress. Audiences and critics barely paid attention to Lynley's version. It was a frustrating moment. She had been the right age to play Harlow. She had the ambition to take on the role, but the film's low production quality worked against her. Instead of proving she could carry a major film, it became just another project that didn't live up to its potential. She didn't stop trying to redefine herself. That same year, she made a bold decision. She posed nude for Playboy. For someone who had been known for playing wholesome characters, this was a statement. She wanted people to see her differently. She was ready for more mature roles and willing to take risks to prove it. The reaction was mixed. Some people admired her confidence. Others saw it as an attempt to revive a struggling career. Either way, it was a turning point. Hollywood would never look at her the same way again. But that didn't mean the industry suddenly started offering her the roles she wanted. By the late 1960s, the quality of her film work had started to decline. She took on projects that had potential but lacked the budget or strong direction to make a real impact. In The Shuttered Room, a horror film based on an H.P. Lovecraft story, she played a woman trapped in a disturbing family mystery. It had eerie moments, but it wasn't the kind of film that changed careers. Then came Once You Kiss a Stranger, where she played a manipulative, psychotic woman. It was a role unlike anything she had done before. She gave a strong performance, but the film itself had the feel of a B-movie thriller. It didn't get much attention. Then came the Poseidon Adventure. Carol Lynley played Nani Parry, a lounge singer trapped in the chaos of the Poseidon Adventure. She wasn't the strongest or the most fearless, but that's what made her stand out. Nani wasn't built for survival. She was terrified, struggling to keep up, and completely lost without her brother. But that made her one of the most relatable characters in the film. She sings The Morning After early in the movie, a moment of calm before disaster strikes. The song became one of the most famous parts of the film, though Lynley didn't actually sing it. The real voice behind the performance was Renee Armand. That didn't matter to audiences. The way Lynley delivered the scene made it unforgettable. The song went on to win an Academy Award for Best Original Song and became a huge hit for Maureen McGovern later that year. The film itself changed disaster movies forever. It wasn't just about destruction, it was about people fighting to survive. Directed by Irwin Allen, it had a cast full of stars, including Gene Hackman, Ernest Borgnine, and Shelley Winters. It wasn't enough to just have big names. The movie needed to make the audience feel like they were trapped too. When the Poseidon Adventure hit theaters in December 1972, it became a massive success. It made over $125 million worldwide, proving there was something special about it. Making the film was almost as tough as the story it told. The set was designed to look like the inside of a capsized ship, which meant the actors had to deal with real physical challenges. They had to climb, crawl, and swim through wreckage. There weren't many safety measures in place. If they had to struggle through water, they really had to struggle. The heat from stage lights placed on the floor was so intense that it burned through their shoes. Carol Lynley, like the rest of the cast, had no choice but to push through it. Some of the most dangerous scenes involved fire and water. The filmmakers used metal plates coated with propane to create the effect of burning oil on water. It looked real because it was real. Smoke filled the set. The water was freezing. Injuries happened all the time, but that's part of what made the film so believable. When the actors looked exhausted, they actually were. Carol Lynley's television career was a masterclass in versatility. She was a familiar face on Hawaii Five-0, a show that kept audiences hooked with its gripping crime stories set against the beauty of the Hawaiian Islands. The series ran for over a decade, and Lynley fit right in. She played characters who weren't just there for one episode and then forgotten. She gave them depth, making sure they added something meaningful to the story. Another major moment in her career came with The Man from UNCLE. By the time she appeared in the 4th season, the spy thriller had already become a worldwide hit. It was packed with action, danger, and intrigue, and Lynley handled it effortlessly. She played a role in the 2-part episode The Prince of Darkness Affair, and it was clear she belonged in that world. She wasn't just there to fill a scene, she made it better. She also had a long-running presence on Fantasy Island, a show built on mystery and unexpected twists. Over the years, she appeared in 11 episodes, becoming one of the most recognizable guest stars. Each time she returned, she played a new character, but no matter the role, she made sure the audience remembered her. Some of her characters were glamorous, some were caught in strange and eerie situations, and she played them all with ease. Her appearances on Charlie's Angels were just as strong. That show had a style all its own, full of action, suspense, and characters with secrets. Lynley fit perfectly into that world. She often played women with hidden motives, and she had a way of keeping the audience guessing. One moment she was charming, the next she was unpredictable. That was part of what made her so good. She had a rare ability to shift between different kinds of roles without losing what made her special. She could play a woman in danger, a mysterious figure, or someone wrapped up in an elaborate scheme. In science fiction and supernatural shows like The Invaders and Night Gallery, she brought a sense of fear and urgency that pulled audiences deeper into the story. Her performances made the unbelievable feel real. She also thrived in stylish crime dramas like It Takes a Thief and Heart to Heart. These shows were all about elegance, fast-paced plots, and unexpected twists, and she had no trouble keeping up. Whether she was playing a cunning socialite or someone drawn into a dangerous plot, she made sure her characters had an impact. Then there were her roles in crime-focused dramas like Kojak and Mannix. These shows had a more serious tone, and Lynley adjusted effortlessly. She played characters with complex pasts, people with secrets they didn't want uncovered. She wasn't just a guest star, she became part of the world of each show she stepped into. Her success didn't stop at TV series. She also became a familiar face in television movies, especially in suspense thrillers. One of her biggest hits was The Night Stalker in 1972, a film that would go on to become a cult classic. She played Gail Foster, the girlfriend of investigative reporter Carl Kolchak, who was chasing a modern-day vampire in Las Vegas. The movie became the highest-rated TV film of its time, proving that audiences were hooked on its mix of horror and mystery. Even though Lynley's role wasn't the biggest, her presence added something crucial to the story. She followed that success with The Elevator in 1974. The film was packed with tension. A group of people got trapped in an elevator, and every second that passed increased the danger. Lynley played a getaway driver caught in the middle of it all. It was a simple premise, but the suspense kept viewers on edge. She had a way of making sure the audience felt what her character was feeling, whether it was fear, determination, or desperation. Meanwhile, Carol Lynley's life moved fast. At 18, she married publicist Michael Selzman in December 1960. By then, she was already making a name for herself in Hollywood with roles in The Light in the Forest and Blue Denim. She even earned a Golden Globe nomination for Most Promising Newcomer. But while her career was on the rise, her marriage was not. Just 4 years later, in 1964, she and Selzman divorced. Their relationship had been brief, but it brought one lasting connection: their daughter Jill, who later became a director of short films. Balancing motherhood and a Hollywood career at such a young age wasn't easy. Lynley later admitted that even though she was divorced by 20, she still felt like a teenager until she was 26. Growing up in the spotlight did that to people. It forced them into adulthood early, yet somehow kept them stuck in a world where youth was everything. But Lynley wasn't the type to let anything slow her down. She kept working, taking on film and television roles, proving that personal struggles wouldn't define her. One of the longest and most complicated relationships of her life was with British broadcaster David Frost. Their romance lasted on and off for nearly 2 decades, from 1964 to 1981. Frost was one of the biggest names in television, famous for his interviews with world leaders, including Richard Nixon. His relationship with Lynley was no secret. In 1967, they were spotted aboard the Queen Mary, dancing late into the night while reporters took note. Lynley later called him an extraordinary person, a simple phrase that spoke volumes. Their relationship never followed a traditional path. They spent years together, but never settled into marriage or long-term commitment. In a time when people expected serious relationships to end in weddings, they lived on their own terms. 2 successful people, both in the public eye, making space for each other without letting fame or expectations pull them in a direction they didn't want to go. Then came Frank Sinatra. Lynley's time with him was shorter, but no less intense. Reports say they dated for about 3 years, starting around 1973. Sinatra was larger than life, charming but demanding. The kind of man who controlled the room the moment he walked in. He had a long history of high-profile romances, and Lynley became part of that world. Carol Lynley seemed to have it all. She was young, beautiful, and successful. But behind the glamour, she was dealing with something that made her feel like an outsider: severe acne. For a teenage model, clear skin wasn't just about looks. It was about keeping her career. She spent 2 years going through intense treatments, trying to fix something she had no control over. It wasn't just painful, it was exhausting. Modeling was supposed to be a dream, but instead it made her feel trapped. She once said she felt disconnected from the real world, stuck in a strange place between childhood and adulthood. While other kids were going to school and hanging out with friends, she was in front of cameras, covering up what she thought made her imperfect. Moreover, Hollywood didn't give her the recognition she hoped for. No matter how hard she worked, an Academy Award nomination never came. She once joked about it in an interview, comparing herself to her co-star Shelley Winters, who had multiple nominations. But deep down, it wasn't just a joke. She wanted that moment. She wanted to be seen as more than just another pretty actress. She tried to break out of the ingenue roles. In 1965, she played Jean Harlow in Harlow, a role that could have changed everything for her. But the film failed at the box office, and instead of opening new doors, it became another setback. Carol Lynley never played it safe. She made bold choices and refused to let Hollywood control her. One of the biggest risks she took was posing nude for Playboy in 1965. At the time, this was a shocking move for an actress in mainstream films. Some called it empowering. Others said it would ruin her career. But Lynley saw it as taking control of her own image in an industry that judged women for everything: aging, appearance, and the roles they chose. Male actors had it easier. They could grow older and still land leading roles. They could take risks and be called daring. Women didn't have that luxury. When Lynley posed for Playboy, the backlash was immediate. The same industry that overlooked far worse behavior from men now saw her as controversial, but she didn't let it stop her. She kept working and built a career that lasted for decades. That same determination helped her through the Poseidon Adventure in 1972. The film became a massive hit, but making it was brutal. Lynley and the rest of the cast spent long days soaked in water. The set was dangerous. For the first 2 weeks, there were no real safety measures. The director wanted everything to feel real. If Lynley slipped on a catwalk, there was no safety net. She would have fallen 6 stories onto solid concrete. The physical demands were exhausting, but Lynley also had to deal with tension behind the scenes. Red Buttons, her co-star, seemed to resent her. He believed she was getting special treatment and made sure she felt it. Whenever a dangerous stunt was required, he waited for her to go first. It wasn't just about safety. It was a challenge, a way of putting pressure on her. Then there was Shelley Winters. She was a Hollywood legend, talented but difficult. Lynley defended her when other actors complained, saying her skills made up for her temper. But their relationship changed after a live television interview. Winters completely forgot Lynley's name. It wasn't just an accident. It felt like a deliberate snub. Lynley was furious. She later joked that she told Winters' secretary she wanted to punch her in the nose. She laughed about it, but the frustration was real. Carol Lynley stepped away from acting in 2006, ending a career that spanned over 5 decades. Her final role came in Vic, a short film directed by Sage Stallone, the son of Sylvester Stallone. It was a fitting conclusion to a journey that had taken her through over 100 films and television shows. By then, she had already left an undeniable mark on Hollywood. Retiring was a conscious choice, possibly driven by a desire to step away from the spotlight and focus on her personal life. Yet, even after leaving the industry, her presence never faded. Fans continued to celebrate her work, and critics acknowledged her lasting impact. Lynley's career had been nothing short of remarkable. She started as a child model and actress, quickly transitioning to Broadway and early television roles. By the late 1950s, she was already proving herself on the big screen, with performances in The Light in the Forest and Blue Denim. These early successes opened doors, leading to films like Return to Peyton Place, Bunny Lake is Missing, and, of course, The Poseidon Adventure. In that film, she famously performed The Morning After, though her vocals were actually dubbed by Renee Armand. Even with that detail, Lynley's on-screen presence made the scene unforgettable. Stepping away from acting marked a major shift in her life. She spoke about the possibility of a career resurgence, but she remained firm in her decision to retire. Instead of pursuing more roles, she focused on personal interests and charitable work. Still, her influence remained strong. Her final performance in Vic was a quiet but powerful reminder of the dedication and talent that had defined her career. On September 3, 2019, Lynley passed away from a heart attack at her home in Pacific Palisades, California. She was 77. Her sudden death came as a shock to many. She had been described as full of life, still active and engaged, never giving the impression of someone in declining health. News of her passing was met with an outpouring of sadness from fans and the entertainment industry alike. She had spent her entire career bringing characters to life, and even in retirement, she remained a beloved figure. Her personal life had its share of notable moments as well. She was married to publicist Michael Selzman from 1960 to 1964, and she later had a widely known relationship with English broadcaster David Frost. These relationships, along with her Hollywood journey, added to the intrigue surrounding her life. Despite her passing, Lynley's work continues to resonate. Whether through her early breakout roles or her later performances, she left behind a body of work that remains admired. Tributes and retrospectives have kept her memory alive, ensuring that her influence endures. Even now, her presence can still be felt in the performances she gave and the stories she told, making her legacy one that will not be forgotten.